I don't know. Leslie said nothing's going on. It sounds like plenty's going on. So,
What's going on the hill?
okay, plenty's going on. We need to have your Q&A. We need to do the Q&A now. If you have any questions, it'd be good if you could state your name and organizational affiliation, if any. Who would like to ask a question of our panelists? There's got to be a lot. Yes, and what is your name and organizational affiliation, if any? Wait a minute. What is the recommendation? For, prior to November 4th, 1986. We have to repeat the question for the video.
The individuals, those are not subject to the, they're not subject to IRCA because they were prior to the enactment of the law, so they are not. You don't need to complete a Form I-9 for them. So if they, no. Those are the groups that are okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Name and organizational affiliation. We're still using expired I-9s. When are we anticipating the new ones?
God only knows. It's been traditionally, I think they've updated it a couple times in the past couple of years, but if you look at the one that was used a few years ago, it was like 2001 edition. So you can still keep using it. Whenever there's a new one, they will make an announcement, and at that stage you should be using the new one. Even though it's expired on the bottom of the form, you still need to continue it until there's a new one that comes out. Yeah. And they'll make an announcement. And the funny part about it, they'll announce it on their website, they'll announce it somewhere else, and if you don't see it and you use the old one still, they're going to tell you, wait a minute, you're supposed to use it, but I didn't know. So, but you should keep an eye on that. The website, the USCIS website is very, very good. What I tell my clients is periodically just go on, and whenever we know about it, what I can do is I'll send an email out to you with the information, just letting you know that the new form is out there. But you're correct, it's expired, and it will probably another year or so. You never know. But it's still good, even though it's expired.
Yes, and these are the kinds of situations where Leslie and Pierre can let us know what's happening, and we'll send it out to everybody. So this is very exciting for me that we came up with this today. Any other? Yes, your name and organizational affiliation. Could you repeat the question, Leslie?
The EEOC is upset about employment authorizations being expired?
Yeah, then.
What if somebody presents to you, a prospective employee presents to you a document that's expiring in a week or a month?
What
It seems to me like from a practical perspective, it's a little ridiculous to bring them on when and
Well, that's the inquiry when you're interviewing people. One of the things that we say that there's permissible, and I can share that with you too. There's permissible inquiries that are, and one of them is, do you need to be sponsored? Are you work authorized in the United States? If so, do you need us to do something? And that's sort of a way for you to find out up front whether or not they need an employment, they're going to need you to sponsor them. And in your screening of the applicant, if you find out that the applicant has an employment authorization document that expires tomorrow, I would say he's not a good candidate or she's not a good candidate. What we see a lot is we see individuals who, will just hire somebody not really looking at the document until much later, and then they find themselves in a pickle because they say, well, we'd like this person, what do we do? the rule of thumb for individuals who have expiring documents is to apply 90 days ahead for an extension. So if somebody comes in to see you and their employment authorization expires in 3 weeks, but they've already submitted the extension and it's pending, then that's a good candidate. But if you have somebody who's coming in and hasn't done anything, then the day of the expiration of their employment authorization document, they really should not be working for you. There's certain exceptions, but the majority of the cases, they need to stop working for you on that day. So the idea is to really ask up front.
So, Leslie, you wanted to say something?
Are you saying that you've heard of situations where EEOC is now going after employers with national origin claims based on this, or that you're just concerned about it?
I think I'm concerned. I'm more concerned. I don't know of any anecdotals.
Yeah.
Just concerned about it.
Advice that the EEOC agrees with the Office of Special Counsel that you can ask those questions about sponsorship.
Yeah, I think the EEOC in the national origin area is tougher on paper than they actually are in situations like this. And I think this is one of those times where you kind of go, but you just want to cover what you're doing and why maybe you're not hiring the person or taking the action. And I think, again, if you apply the priority factors that I said, that's less likely to be a priority for them. So I'm saying I can't say you're out of the woods there, but you're probably in pretty good stead.
Leslie, can you just answer one quick question about criminal background checks?
Sure.
What is
The issue?
What's the issue? What's going on?
Okay, so criminal background checks can have, you could use criminal background checks in a race-related way. One person who's white, it's a youthful indiscretion, and the other person who's African American, you could look at it and say, well, look at them, they're a thug. That's the obvious thing. But what the EEOC is really looking at is the fact that criminal background checks have a disparate impact on African American men and Hispanic men, actually men in general, but they haven't had, they really haven't pursued that, they've kind of not done such a great job there. So if that is the case, under the law of disparate impact, it has to be a job-related reason and consistent with business necessity. And there's a 3-factor test that has been around since the 1970s that you're supposed to apply, and it's not too, dissimilar to what's, here in New York. It's what was the crime, how long ago did it happen, and how much is it related to the job? But that's kind of loosey-goosey. So the agency and the use of criminal background checks was expanding, and with the computer age, it's a lot easier. And so the commission issued a new guidance that it went into, it's like 50-something pages, which is a great lot more detail about it. And it includes something that they call a best practice, but my understanding it was a last-minute negotiation, and they don't really mean that. Is they want an individualized assessment, and ideally they want you to go to the candidate and say, what happened here, and try to figure out or look to see, what they've done since they got out of incarceration and all that. The rule of thumb is, do not hire somebody who has been arrested but not convicted unless it's a pending arrest. And then with convictions, you really need to look and make the argument that it is job related, but I'd say anything within, especially for violent crimes, thefts and things like that, 5 to 7 years, you're probably A-okay. Beyond that, you may not be okay, and then the devil is really in the details. I mean, developing one of these policies, I just wouldn't take a cookie cutter approach, and I certainly wouldn't say I'm not hiring anybody with a criminal record, because those are the kind of blanket policy.
Or arrests. I mean, I've heard about applications, and we have to close now, but I've heard about people having to fill out applications. They say, have you ever been arrested?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just say one thing. March 22nd, we have the head of the healthcare practice of PricewaterhouseCoopers. We have a prestigious healthcare attorney and the CEO of a healthcare organization. That's March 22nd. Turn in your blue forms. Let's give them a round of applause. This is great, great, great. Thank you all for coming. See you March 22nd.